Hello, my name is Hal Harris, and this is a video of a game that I've been developing for part of the Mastered Skills Development course that I've been doing. It's aiming to be a D&D inspired roguelike, and yeah, I'll just get straight into it and show you where I am. So this is just a sample scene. Got my character with a dagger. I did have different weapons, but I've started to change up how the weapon swapping is working to be using scriptable objects instead of just swapping between different game objects at the moment, so it's not currently functional with multiple weapons. I could still pick up potions though, and there's a potions menu I can drink here. I get given 8 health, which doesn't do anything because I'm at full health at the moment. But I've got my dagger. You can see a spider's just appeared over there, we'll get to him in a second. Got my dagger, which I can throw or I can just stab with. It shows it down here if I had another weapon, if it will let me pick that up. As I said, it's not currently working, but I could then swap to the other weapon there. Let me go back to the dagger. And we've got this barrel here, which is resistant to piercing damage, which is the type of damage that the dagger does, so it's only taking between 0 and 2 damage when attacking with the dagger, unless I get a crit, which is the yellow numbers that appear, and then it will do double the standard damage, or it will roll 2 damage dice, of which the dagger's damage dice is a d4. And it only has 1 damage dice, so if you get a critical hit, then it will do 2d4, so up to 8 damage, or on this barrel up to 4 damage because it's resistant. Got the spider here that's slowly attacking me. Attacks me whenever I walk into him at the moment, and I kill him and he produces a load of money which I can pick up, and as you can see my money has now gone from 0.95 to, from 0 to 0.95 gold because it didn't drop a full gold. I can try and throw my dagger here. There we go. Got him. Got that one. Got that one as well. And if I come back over to this bit here, you can see on this testing screen over here, there is a blue kind of, not full triangles, but 2 blue lines, and that's indicating the spread of the dagger because it is a thrown weapon. So if I just give a few examples here, you can see it varies anywhere between that spread level. And I wanted this to be adjusted with like players' attributes. For example, dexterity would increase, or would rather decrease, the spread of the dagger so that it is more effective, but I didn't get to implementing that yet. Yeah, the dagger objects that appear are actually just pooled objects. As you can see over here, I've got a few like just pooled dagger projectiles. I think they're called dagger projectiles, but they're actually just random projectiles that when the dagger is thrown will end up, or maybe it's using different projectiles now. Yeah, it's using these instead, that's what I meant, yeah. So it's just a default projectile that gets given the skin or the texture of the dagger and the dagger's values. So if I go to, I think this one here, you can see down here, if I do this, it applies all of the dagger's values, and I think the damage is actually calculated on hitting something, so it's not stored within the object, it's calculated based on the object's damage dice and whether it was a critical hit, and any damage modifiers you have, the damage type, etc. Also on this screen over here, if I make it a bit bigger, you can see we've got some squares. These are for A-star pathfinding, so any of the red squares are non-walkable tiles, any of the green ones are walkable tiles. And this is for the spiders, which currently are all deactive because I'm not within range. So this green square around, or this green rectangle here, is the player active, or the spider activation zone. So when the player gets their green square, which is invisible on the game screen over here, within to have a spider within it, then the spider will turn on and start patrolling off screen or on screen depending on where it is. And then if the player gets a spider within this red circle here, they will have detected it and then we'll start chasing them. So if I go over to where a spider should be, there'll be, if I try and find one on my very, very long list of game objects in here at the moment. Maybe I've actually killed them all. Oh no, they're in that one. I'm just a buffoon. Spiders. So we have all the spiders here, they're all active. But as you can see on, for example, spider number 11, it's currently invisible and not moving because it's not within the player's box. But as soon as we get that spider within the box, it will start moving. So if I go back on here and start moving, you can see another spider just appeared over there. If I go up there, that spider just appeared. There's two more that have appeared there, and now they're starting to walk. And you can see, if I zoom in, some of their... don't know why it's not doing it all the time. Found a bug while recording this, but you can see the first time they move, it'll show a little black line to indicate where they've decided to pathfind to on their patrol state. If I can get this guy to move. If not, I can go up to here. And then when one of the, yeah, there you go, black line that indicates which nodes they're traversing through to get to where they want to be. But yeah, this was... oh, actually, before I start going into the code aspect of it, rather than just the mechanics, where is it? Scenes got this one. So, this scene, if I quickly go back to this and turn off the canvas, because we don't need that right now, we've got various different random dungeon generators, because as I said, it was aiming to be a roguelike, so I started making just random dungeon generators. We've got standard ones that aren't my creation but are nonetheless useful. So we've got corridor first dungeon generation, which doesn't seem to like doing sideways corridors anymore, but that's probably because I've changed something and forgotten about it. But we've also got room first dungeon generation. And there you go, it generates a small dungeon. And then we've got my own custom one, which is not very good, and as you can see, does not work most of the time. However, I made it almost entirely myself, and when it does work, it does work. Let me... I see what's happening. Let's get rid of all those. So we need to do this, and then on here, create dungeon. No. Maybe this is the one I'd gone back to using then. My one was working at one point. I think I changed things around and switched back to this one, the room first one, because it produced nicer results. It's still not exactly how I want it, because as you can see the corridors just kind of go in straight lines to the room, and I wanted it to be a bit more sporadic. I wanted to use like random walk, not random walk, I wanted to use like what's the term? I basically wanted to just kind of shuffle the rooms around until they were far enough separation apart, then select the rooms that I actually want, assign this, or like get the start room and just connect all the rooms. Well, you don't even need to get the start room, but you connect all the rooms with a what was the term? What was the thing? It's going well, this video. I could look it up, but I am stubborn. Not going to. I will remember. I don't remember. Either way, we had, with these ones, they were using depth first search to create these corridors, I believe, in my custom one anyway. These, not sure if it's still using those anymore. Changed a lot of things. But the whole point of this project was just to advance my coding skills, so I've got, so if I go back to the template scene, I'm not going to save that, got object poolers and things, so if I should start it again, object pooler will just make a pool of objects for everything that it needs. So we've got object pooler here, we've got a pool for gold piece, spider, damage indicator, dagger projectile, copper piece and silver piece. This one's no longer needed because these are being done in a different way now. And I think is that within weapon manager? No. Can't actually see where that is at the moment. But definitely does exist somewhere, because otherwise we wouldn't have all these default projectiles. Yeah, as I said, this was a learning experience. This project is far from perfect, as you can see, because I can't find anything. Everything's a mess. And if I go into like the scripts over here, I've got some files, and then the rest is just, yeah. But we started using scriptable objects and things for like that was the random walk data actually, but I've got prefab rooms that are just game objects. We've got in weapons, I've got like a base weapon script that every weapon inherits from. Then we've got the kind of the scriptable objects for the different types of weapons. So this is what a dagger actually does. This is the dagger script. Then we've got like daggers statistics, daggers values, what a dagger projectile should be, and all of that stuff. So the dagger has like a stored version of the dagger values to see its data, and then it will have its projectile, and the projectile will get given all of those values whenever it's thrown. So the projectile doesn't store anything itself. The dagger's kind of like the central hub in terms of that, and that would be the same for every weapon. So like this battle axe here, this actually should be battle axe values, because that's a values game object and not an actual weapon. Or that's a values scriptable object and not a weapon. But yeah, that is the general premise of how it works. Yeah, I've got somewhere as well, I've got like interfaces for the observer pattern and like collectibles as well. So we've got observer, pooled object for any object that you need to pool can inherit from pooled object, and then it just needs that script to be a pooled object. You've got iSubject, so for example, I think the money manager is an iSubject. Yeah, it's an iSubject for float, which it shouldn't be. It should be for a specific money object. I just haven't got around to doing that yet. But a better one is potion manager. It's an iSubject for the potion enum, and it monitors any changes to do with potions. So we've got, at the start, it will register all of its observers, so anything that wants to know whenever a potion is changed. For example, the potion UI will get registered in here. If you want to remove an observer at any point, it can do that as well. It'll notify observers, it can tell you when a potion's been added, potion's been removed, number of potions have been altered. You can check to see if the potion's there. This looks like it's doing a similar thing. Not sure about that. They look like they're doing the same thing. That should be check potion count, not weapon count. But it was copied from the weapon manager iSubject script, or the weapon manager script that also inherits from iSubject using the weapon enum type, which does a similar thing. If I quickly show you that. Yeah, weapon type enum, that's just doing very similar things. And yeah, I haven't used the observer pattern before, haven't used singleton pattern before this project, hadn't used object pooling, so I've learnt a lot in terms of where I was at before I started and where I am now. So it's been a lot of change. I would like to try and continue this project at some point. I don't know when it will be, but I would like to try and get it more finished, or at least some sort of prototype, because right now it's not really in a playable state. It's just like a premise of what the game could be, but not what it wants to be. But I like, although it's heavily Dungeons and Dragons inspired, I like the mechanics that I've come up with, and I have the dice roller, like static class, so that anything in the game, whenever it needs to roll a dice, all it has to say is what the maximum number on that dice is, and it can roll multiple dice. It has the standard D20 check. It has D20 with advantage, D20 disadvantage, all of the things you would need for a game of D&D, essentially, but within a video game. And learnt about like optimal ways of doing certain like collision detection things. So I think it's going to be in the projectile script, wherever that is. Projectile. I don't actually do it here. Where do I do it then? Is it in coin? Does it get done in coin? It's definitely something that does it. No. There is somewhere, maybe it's an enemy player? Let me check player. Lift this up a bit. There we go. Shopkeeper. Apparently it's in Shopkeeper. But this is where I was learning about optimal ways to do like collisions in Unity. So, for example, in the previous ones you saw it was doing like collision.compare tag, but this is a better way to do it. So it's basically comparing the like current layer and the collisions layer to see if their set is interactable within the game's settings. So I think it's in build setting, player settings, physics 2D, no physics, where is it? Whenever you need to find something, you can never find it. There, oh, it was here, I'm right. So, if, for example, like the objects, nothing really needs to interact with the UI, so I could turn all of that off, and then only the UI can be detected interacting with the UI. Or, for some reason, if I didn't want an enemy to be able to, or one thing I'd planned for the future was ghost enemies, or like enemies that can go through walls and things, so I could make it so that the specific type of enemy, like the ghost for example, ignored the objects layer. If I can, yeah, if enemy and objects don't interact, or enemy and objects don't interact, so that objects don't get affected by the enemies and enemies don't get affected by the objects, so they can just kind of float right through. And they can, I think with the way it's set up, it would adjust the pathfinding accordingly, so it wouldn't check for the layers that aren't interactable with it, but I don't remember whether I actually finished that or not. But either way, this is the current state of the project, and I've got several scenes for just planning things out. So we've got that was like testing the pathfinding, that's the template one, this is the random dungeon one, that was me making some like prefab rooms. This was for the shopkeeper testing, and I don't know why it's gone all pink. Okay, 1 second. For some reason it's not got Text Mesh Pro anymore. Which would explain why something I had to fix earlier wasn't working, if Text Mesh Pro isn't available. But yeah, I don't know why all of it's gone pink. And because I changed that, that's not going to work either, but that was a sample scene of NPC interaction. It's the issue with changing things, it messes up everything else. And then I started building like a sample town for like the central hub of the game where you come back to after each dungeon, or something like that. But yeah, this is what I've been working on for a while. Haven't been able to touch it recently due to work and lack of time and things like that, but I want to come back to it, as I said, want to finish developing it, and I just want to make it a more complete game, even if it's not a full game, or at least use the concepts and things from within here to build a different game that's slightly less work, that's a bit smaller, but still improving my skills and knowledge. But I had a lot of plans for this game, for example, different classes, different abilities, like Ranger, having like Hunter's Marks. You can target an enemy, that enemy takes more damage. I think it's 1d4 at level 1, and then it scales with your leveling, but don't entirely remember. I wanted to have spell slots as well, so maybe Hunter's Mark would have been a spell instead, and I would have had some different ability for the Ranger, but certain classes had like easy abilities to think of, like Barbarian. For the next few seconds you take half damage from piercing, bludgeoning, slashing attacks, and you can do reckless attacks that have a higher chance of like getting a crit, or if you're throwing a weapon it'll have better accuracy. and things like that. I was considering adding armor classes to the game, but I felt like it might not work entirely with it being a roguelike, because if there's an enemy right next to you and you're constantly swinging a weapon back and forth, and it's just saying miss, miss, miss every single time, I thought that would get quite annoying, so I wanted to think of a different way of doing that, which was partly what the accuracy with the dagger was for, but I hadn't fully decided where I was going with that. But yeah, I wanted to add classes, different attributes, which I think I started. Yeah, so we've got attribute types, strength, dexterity, wisdom, constitution, intelligence, etc. And then, like, their attribute scores, calculating the modifier based on their score, and then using those attributes to influence other things. As I said earlier, dexterity with the dagger would increase its accuracy, and like for example, if you're a cleric, your wisdom would increase your spell save DC for your spells and make it easier to affect certain enemies. And yeah, dexterity also increases your damage with finesse weapons or ranged weapons, and it increases your armor class. Strength increases your damage with not finesse weapons, just other weapons, I guess. But yeah, I wanted to try and make all of the D&D mechanics somewhat similar within Unity and within this game, but fortunately without the weapon swapping it doesn't seem as impressive, but I do want to fix that fairly soon, because it's annoying me as well now. But yeah, so that's where I've got just a little review of what I'm trying to do, and hopefully you've enjoyed my nonsense rambling and getting lost through all of my files and code and scripts and other things.